Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 229. Hope you are amazing as always. Do you know what? I just bounced over to Florida for a couple of weeks. Do you know what? I think I'm the first to say ever in the history of anyone in Florida that it's not that hot. I mean it. Compared into Central America, it's like the most perfect weather. There's no humidity either. Maybe it's because we're early in the season, but it's true. I'm usually walking around the streets just dripping with sweat in Panama. But over here, I don't know, it's some perfect weather going on. So I'm real happy. Do you know what? One of my favorite things to do when I come to Florida, I absolutely love this. You're probably going to think I'm going to say Disney World or something like that. I've never been, right? I suck on roller coasters. Got this inner ear thing going on. I get sick quite easy, so I stay away from them. Do you know what? Even when I bring my niece to places in the UK, I have to bring a mate because I get like sick on the ghost train and stuff for the kids. So it's no good. But anyway, speaking of good things, one of the most favorite places I think I've ever been in my life is St. Petersburg in Florida. And what I love about it there is the Dali Museum. I don't know if you've ever been, but if you ever get a chance, please go. Well, if you like art, please go. And if you like surrealism, please go. If you don't, you're probably not going to like it. But it's so amazing because obviously, Dali was an exceptionally talented human being. If you don't know Dali, do a quick Google search. But incredible. This art's like 30 foot tall, and it goes into such detail. It's real trippy because it's like you've got 100 stories inside of this one piece of art, and you don't even notice these things. And every time I go, I see the same artwork, although they change it around. It just blows my mind how somebody can create that. I'm not artistic. I can't paint, can't draw. But guess what? I can appreciate it. And it's amazing because this whole building is built around the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. So it's an actual mathematical equation that occurs in nature. And like a fern just unfolding, right? Even a fetus growing. There's a very specific mathematical formula that is occurring. And what that creates inside of us is a certain harmonization, whether it's visually or energetically. It's quite profound. It's an amazing building, but yeah, check out the golden ratio. It's quite amazing. And yeah, you'll see it in everything. You'll see this sequence right through nature and life. And once you understand it, and I'm sure you listen to this, which means you probably already know about it. And I'm sure I've spoke about it at some point. I've been getting some great feedback about the previous episode, 228, Brainwaves, Neuroscience, and why this is a game changer for your business. If you've not listened to that episode, go and check it out. Go and check it out because I know you'll love it. And you'll realize there's a big distinction between the way I see coaching and the way I see performance and maybe a lot of other people. So go and check that out. I know you'll like it. And I'll tell you all about today's guest in a minute because I love this guy. He became a mate straight away. We clicked. He's a badass and he's doing some amazing things in the world. And we'll get into that all in a moment. Do you know what? What just popped into my head? I was listening to the interview with Elon Musk the other day on Joe Rogan. I've heard it. I watched it live, but I don't know. I like to rewatch certain things because listening to somebody like Elon Musk who thinks at such a high level, it's always profound to me. We talk about certain parts of the brain that replicate the things around that are dominant. And in this case, I love to support high-level thinkers in my brain, right? And guess what? I don't know Joe and I don't know Elon. So guess what? How I do it? Yeah, I press play. Quite good, right? Just as you're listening to this. And one of the things that I absolutely loved about what he said was the simplicity of his thinking, but obviously the complex, intricate way that he thinks too. And what was amazing, like just to see if they could do it, he gives it, let's create $1 million. Okay, not funding, let's just create $1 million for a little project. And what they did is he created a cap. Yeah, just a baseball cap. And it was limited edition only. They're never going to be other ones created. And he just did it for fun. They go, let's create $1 million. Okay, so they sold 50,000 caps. Okay, $1 million. Then he went, well, how can we do this a little stage further? Let's create $10 million. So I don't know whether you saw this, but he created, well, it's called This Is Not a Flamethrower, right? And he called it This Is Not a Flamethrower because it's not a flamethrower. Because it's made of these two parts and we just connected them together and it's not actually a flamethrower. And we got around regulations because it was called This Is Not a Flamethrower, which is just awesome in itself. But he then goes, let's create $10 million. So they created this flamethrower and they sold 20,000 of them for $500. That's $10 million. For most of us, $10 million were done, right? But think about the level of his thinking. Think about how he sees the world being a multi-billionaire. So $10 million to him, he's not even going to notice. But his level of thinking, that he can create something so simple, just put it out there, and then create that level of money is amazing to me. It's amazing to me. Because think about that in your own business and life right now. Where are you overcomplicating things, right? Because we get caught up in so much in the funnel world, or we get so caught up in just accumulating or buying things, right? Do we really need them? Well, I don't know. But with $10 million right now, maybe you're earning that a year. Maybe you've got that in the bank. I don't know. But the truth is, $10 million will set most people up forever. And you know how fast he sold those flamethrowers? I think it was 3 or 4 days. So he made $10 million just on the side in 3 or 4 days for creating a product. By the way, what he told people, he gives it, do not buy this. It's a really bad idea. Do not buy it. It's a bad idea. But guess what? $500, he bought a flamethrower. So that's pretty cool. But the reason I'm saying this is just start looking at whatever business model you're putting together and look at how complicated are you making it. Because they just made something so simple and created that level of income. Yes, of course, it was easy for him to sell and market because he's done all the work before. But I also, don't quote me on this, but I don't think Tesla has spent $1 on advertising. Not $1. It's all media, it's all exposure, and it's all about him being an ambassador behind the brand. So then people get behind it, right? But he's the celebrity behind it. And just think about how simple that is. And the reason that popped into my head is that's exactly the way I feel that today's guest is, Josh. Josh is, the way his brain works, it's very, very simple. And that's the opposite of basic. It's hyper intelligent. And you're going to learn about Josh, and I'm going to talk about him in a moment, and I'll give you a little bio of him, because he's been through an absolute ride. This guy was one of the top in the world in BMX. Yeah. And guess what? He's been to the X Games. He'd been everywhere, and he was one of the top in the world for what he did. And the crazy story is that basically he had a crash and they discovered he had, well, a brain tumor. Yeah, and this was at 21 years old. And the thing about this was it was taking up the left half of his brain. And immediate surgical removal was necessary, and he came out okay and was back on his bike in 5 weeks later. But the challenge was they found another one later on, and I'm going to get you into all of his story in a minute because it is incredible. And he's been on all the top podcasts recently, and I really love this guy. He's so down to earth, so humble. But the reason I said all about Elon and the reason I said about Josh is that he looks at life in such a beautiful way. He enjoys life. Do you know what I mean? He just enjoys it. And he's having great success, and his story's going all over the place, and it should, because he's an awesome guy and he's sharing a message. And the truth is, isn't that just what we're supposed to do? Aren't we just supposed to help? Aren't we just supposed to, serve other people? And then guess what? That comes back to you. And that's how you make money in business, you know? And the truth is, if we all did that and we were all honest and we all just put ourselves out there, amazing things happen. And speaking of amazing things, make sure that you're doing yourself a favor and heading over to the show notes. Got some incredible things to help you. Well, there's 3 ways that can help you perform in business and life at a world-class level. We got number 1. Well, I created a video for you. It's 12 minutes long. It goes through my 3 master keys that I've learned really from all the top performers that I've worked with over the past 17 years. And if you use these 3 keys, then guess what? I know you're going to create some massive movement in your business. Yes, today. That's what I love. And the other thing is, I want to be able to give you, guess what? There's one tool that retrains your unconscious mind, and you can use that every day. And that one tool is an absolute game changer. Thousands of people are using it right now, and I want you to use it the same way. So go and check it out. It's for you. Hey, apply it and you'll love it. And the third thing, it's called Unlock Your Performance Session. Yeah, that's where you sit down with me. Hopefully it's me. I try to do as many of these as I can. Or one of my coaches. And guess what? Yeah, we work out what the right fit is for you, where you're at, what help you need, and what package or program or system or knowledge, whatever you need to make sure that you keep kicking ass and step up to a world-class level. And that's it. Because I know then you will go and make your business amazing. Which means whatever you're doing, you're going to go and help a ton of people, supplying jobs, creating change in the world. And so it's so important for me, and I know it should be important for you too. So go over to the show notes, click on whatever link resonates with you, and I know each one of them is going to be a game changer for you. So head over to those show notes as soon as you can and take a little look. So crew, settle in, get comfy, and let's go and meet Josh Perry. And I'll see you at the end of the show. Okay, Mindset by Design crew. So, as always, you've heard my awesome intro, so you know I'm pumped about today's guest. It's a special journey we're about to go on, and we're going to jump into the world, of BMX and healthy living. But how are you, Josh, mate?
I'm doing well, yeah. It's another sunny day. Grateful to be alive, and appreciate the opportunity to have a chat.
Oh, for sure, mate. It's man, everyone must ask you the same questions, right? So I don't want to go down that path, right? So everyone's going to ask your story, and we're going to get into that. But what's it like being on the other side of this?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people reach out to me because I share a lot of positivity, and I try to be as transparent as I can with anything I share, the good, the bad, the middle, like just I'm a human being. Right. A lot of people are like, how do you stay so positive all the time? And I'm like, honestly, I don't. I strive for happiness all the time, but we're human. We have these experiences, and you have to have ups and downs. So it's just, and I think I put a lot more pressure on myself to be successful in all the areas that I strive to be successful in. And I reflect back on my past when I was just living the pro BMX life and just, partying and riding and just hanging out. And now I'm like, man, the last couple of years I've been working on my business and like learning more and like trying to grow. And I'm like, man, there was so much wasted opportunity. And even with health, I wasn't prioritizing my health, and there was a lot of time wasted from feeling like garbage. And just now I just want to optimize all my time to have fun, to get work done, and just to feel happy and fulfilled. And
that's badass.
I just, I appreciate the journey.
I appreciate you coming on and the journey too, mate. And we've all been through lots of pain and it's like, does it, like what you've been through, and people listening like, what the hell's he been through? We'll get there, man. We'll get there. But do you have a completely different perspective on life now?
Oh, 100%. And that's what I talk about with like what I went through 9 years ago, actually, from next month. I was on a path of just like a victim mentality. It must be nice. And like, didn't have the belief that I could have success in certain areas of my life. And yeah, just perspective is everything. And if it wasn't for being told I was going to die just freshly turned 21, I don't think I'd be anywhere near where I am today. And I'm grateful for it. A lot of people are like, man, it's gotta be the worst thing that ever happened. It's like, honestly, you can look at it either way. And Jim Carrey gave a speech a couple of years ago, and he said it best. He's like, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, but it's a choice. You have to see it that way. And so perspective is everything to me. And it's like, you can always find the good or the bad in any situation. And I argue, they're both, it takes as much energy to go either route, but I argue it takes more energy to go the victim route, because then the further in the hole you dig yourself in, you got to get back out. It's harder in the long run.
I love that. Because isn't that the truth, man? Because it's like we go down the negative, we go down the darkness path, right? And does it lead anywhere different?
No.
It goes to the same damn place every time, right?
No.
Every single time. But what's exciting about life is the unknown. But for a lot of people, like maybe before, and definitely me in the past, it's like you get lost in that. I don't know, the brain's programmed a certain way to look for that fear response, right? So people get constantly stuck in that fear response and think that's life. So it's sad, man. So it's beautiful to see you happy. It's beautiful to see you doing life and helping people, man. So people are going to want to know what the heck you've been through, man. So let's talk about that as a pro career, first of all, because you mentioned it there. Pro BMX rider.
Yeah, no. And
pretty badass, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's surreal. I just put up a post yesterday talking about like reflecting on the last decade of my life and to manifest the dreams I had as a child. And going through what I've gone through, it's just so interesting to think of like, man, like that happened, but it's like, it's been so long and I've been just living the motions. It's like, man, did that happen? Is that just my story? Or is like, it is real. I have proof. I have video and photo documentation of it every step of the way. But yeah, it's been interesting. And, I think that my success in BMX, which is a very unconventional route, I mean, it's not a large sport. People know of it, but it's not as widely accepted or known as other sports. But, I think I had a rough childhood with a stepfather, mentally and physically abusive to my mom, my brother, and I. And I think hearing him say, you'll never make it, and like the spite that I had to prove him wrong is what fueled me. And then as we talked about perspective, in 2010, this was a year after X Games, which was another dream come true. And it had been 3 years in my pro career. I fell and hit my head one day and accidentally got diagnosed with a brain tumor, looking for a concussion. And then they found a massive tumor. And that's the moment where perspective changed for me. And I wasn't like, oh man, I'm going to die. That was initially what I thought. But as the weeks went on, it was like a 3-week period before diagnosis and surgery. A couple things came to mind. My mom's story battling colon cancer, Lance Armstrong's story battling lung, testicular, and brain cancer, and then getting back on the bike. And then the BMX community reaching out for support. It shifted my fear into motivation to live my life. And it was no longer about spite to prove people wrong. I had already done that. It was more about love for my life and that gratitude that I still have a chance. I still have a choice to improve my life and to preserve my life, rather than the fear of what could happen. What could happen if I wake up though? What am I going to do? And that's all I thought about.
Right. Damn, that's a big shift.
Yeah. And I was young too. I was 21. I mean, I don't think it's any different at any age to be told like, hey, you're going to die.
Right.
If you don't have the surgery, and then you still may die or become paralyzed or blind or deaf or have a stroke, either way, but it changes something inside of you. And people can go down, I call it the victimville route, or they can go through survivorship. And I just kept focusing on what I wanted. And that's what I share with people. I'm like, doesn't matter what you're going through. Be grateful you're still breathing and you have a choice to improve yourself.
I love it, mate. I love it. And hopefully everyone's like starting to listen now, right? So What was that moment? Because there must have been a day. There must have been something that you were sitting there and you got this perspective change, you know? Was it a doctor saying something to you? Was it a moment that you were sitting on your own? Was it hanging out with friends? What was it that was it an instant thing? Was it a progression? What created, go back to that moment for us.
Yeah, so like I said, it was like a 2 or 3 week period from diagnosis to surgery. And I don't remember exactly when, but it was in the middle of that period where it started transitioning. I just kept thinking about like my mom and Lance Armstrong. And then I was just like YouTubing brain surgeries and researching and like the outcomes. And I was like getting a little freaked out, but I was like, man, people get past this. You know, Lance did it. My mom did it. You know, I can do it too. And it was a moment when I was just watching old riding videos of myself competing and then videos we've been filming. And I was like, man, I'm not done yet. Like I'm only 20. I just turned 21 in November and this was now March of 2010. So I don't remember exactly when. I just remember shifting to like, well, there's no reason it doesn't make any sense to think about what I don't want to happen because that's, you know, I can't control that, but I can control how I feel now and I can control how I think now.
So did that control gave you that power? Because it wasn't fueled by ego anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Or was it? Because the spiteful thing was like, and I love that you pushed away and you made a career. And that's what a lot of people need to understand about pain, right? Yep. It's a good thing. It's like the universe telling you to stop doing that and go a different way. But exactly. It created success for you, and that's a beautiful thing. And I'd love to talk to you more about that as well with the performance side, because I think that's cool. But I know you live in a different world now. It's what was it like? Yeah, what was the next fuel? Was it just pure excitement? What was the determination? Where did it come from? Was it still ego and like let's do this? Or was it coming from like heart? Was it coming from more of a calling or a purpose? What was the difference?
So at the time, that's what it's manifested to now as a purpose. And it took 2 more diagnoses to really get clarity around that as I am today. But really what it was me just like fighting. It was like, I'm not done living my dream. I just turned 21. I have so much more time. And it was another sense of love from the community of BMX and friends and family reaching out. Like anyone that heard my story, whether they knew of me before or not, they just like, man, like we're rooting for you. You know, you got this. And I just kept shifting everything to motivation to get back on my bike. Like I wasn't worried about death anymore. I was just like, I want to ride. And that's what had fueled me for the most part. My whole life was like my bike. Like I want to ride my bike. I have so much fun. It's shown me the world. And so it was no longer ego in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong. I can do this because I'd already done that. And it just was like, man, love for my life and love from other people and just my vision. Like I'm not done. Like I got more life to live. And along the way, then it was like, man, the first time I shared my story, like people were like, oh, thanks so much. And I was like, man, maybe there's something to this. And it just kept, kept going.
That's amazing, man. You said the second diagnosis, so that was in 2017?
Oh no, the second diagnosis was 2 years after the surgery. So the surgery was April 2010. The second diagnosis was September 2012. And then I went through Gamma Knife radiation therapy in November 2012, so what happened was the tumor originally was located on the optic nerve and around an artery in my brain. So to keep the risk down from stroke, seizure, paralysis, or death, they couldn't get all the cells because if they risked hitting either of them, the list goes on of the risk. So they said it was just residual cell growth. So 2 areas had grown back, a little blueberry-sized tumor in the front of the brain and one in the rear of the brain. And so Gamma Knife basically zapped them and they shrunk for 4 years. And now they've just been stable ever since. That's
beautiful, man. Thank God, right? It's like,
it's crazy too, because Gamma Knife isn't well known. And I had a friend help me search for it via Google for a while. And had I got the MRI when I originally asked for one, so that's another part of the story. Before I accidentally got diagnosed, 1.5 years, I'd been going to the emergency room and urgent care multiple times with debilitating headaches and migraines, vomiting, and vision loss. And every time I asked for some sort of scan ignorantly, I didn't know anything about this at the time, CAT scan, X-ray, MRI, they kept saying, no, you're young, you're healthy, you're in shape, blood work checks out, you just have headaches. A lot of Americans have headaches, it's normal. Here's some pain pills, come back if you need more. And that was a year or so. And so now I'm like, man, like I just did a thing today on Instagram telling people like your doctor isn't a dictator, they're a teammate, you're paying for their service. So if you feel there's something wrong and they're not working with you, go get another doctor. Because had I listened to this doctor and kept taking the pain pills, which I didn't because they make me throw up, if I didn't hit my head, I'd be dead. And my surgeon confirmed that. He's like, you had another month or two based on the size of the tumor growing. And so that's why I'm a big advocate for medical imaging and Gamma Knife, because
what's gamma? Explain that one. Gamma, right?
Gamma Knife, it's a version of radiation therapy. They use radio wave beams to target with a computer a location to treat. And it's just like 180 degrees of different radio wave beams, and they can pinpoint where to treat. So unlike traditional radiation where it damages surrounding tissue, Gamma Knife is a lesser degree until they all meet together. And so a lot of what's the correct word? Inoperable tumors, they can use Gamma Knife to treat it. And it's non-invasive, despite the name. There's no surgery. And it's like an MRI, but without the noise. So you just lay down in this bed, and they just use lasers to monitor your head and everything. And they use a computer to treat. And basically, like I said, just zapped them. They shrunk for 4 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So now you transition to this stage of your life. So like you said before, do you look back on that and it's like a dream?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I have the scar, like I have the photos of the 75 staples and 16 stitches in my head. And it's just like, man, like I remember that moment, and I remember the experience, and I remember how I felt waking up and seeing my brother and my mom, my grandparents, and just how amazing it was. But it's just like, man, like that, it's like, I don't even look the same anymore. I mean, as we age, of course we change, but it's like, man, like, sometimes I think, like, am I just telling this story that didn't happen? Or like, I don't know. I get really deep in my thoughts a lot. And so it's just interesting to think about it that way.
It's powerful, man. It's powerful. So when you think of that image, like, can you go back? Are you still seeing it through your own eyes? Are you seeing yourself in it? I mean, what's the image that when you think back of all of that time, what do you see?
That's interesting, because I see it both ways. I see it like when I was sitting in that bed, and then I see it like looking down, and because I have all the photos and the videos, so like I have different perspectives now, and I'm the only one that ever has my perspective. So it's interesting to put myself in my shoes and then myself on the outside, and it's just, again, like, it's real. I got the documentation, but it's crazy to think about it. And I mean, even thinking about good things, like I don't see things as good or bad. They're all just experiences, and I've come a long way to learn that. But it's insane. It's like, man, like, I remember how that felt. I remember that my first pro contest win, and like how awesome it was. I have photos of it, and it's just, I don't know. But what I think is interesting is looking at it that way, but flipping it to the future. And, you know, if you got something you desire, or a goal, or, you know, aspiration or dream or something, like think about your success in that area and feel that now. And that's going to lead you to taking new action to manifest that, rather than worrying about the past of what you did wrong or right and what could happen in the future. Like, think about what you want and feel it now.
Exactly. And that's why I asked, mate. And that's exactly why I asked, right? So it's beautiful. We're on the same page.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, man, because when you go back to that past and you're seeing things through your own eyes, that's what my next question was. Is that way you still relive it? You're seeing it through your own eyes, do you go in there and you relive that pain, or because there's a difference, right?
Yeah. And so the second diagnosis, I went through that, and I felt all the same emotions, not as long, like it didn't last as long, but I felt them for some time. And then I remembered, hey, you did this once. This isn't as bad, and you can do it again. Let's just focus on the vision. Let's focus on the journey and the path that we want to take. And then the third diagnosis, which was February 2017, that's what gave me clarity around my whole life purpose and my mission, what I'm living today. And I stopped competing that year. 2016, October in China was my last contest. And
you kept competing after all. You got back on your bike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No,
The
last contest was October 2016, and I ended up 10th overall and had a great season. And that was after ACL reconstructive surgery in 2015. And I got back on my bike just shy of 4 months later, and then got third place my first contest back, and then phenomenal. But it's funny too, and this is part of my writing in the book, like, you know, I'm talking about this, like, I'm the only X Games athlete that I believe had a brain tumor. I didn't know about it, but I had a massive brain tumor, and I did fairly well for my first X Games, but I was like, I think I was 20 at the time. And so it's just interesting to think about all these. I didn't know I had a tumor for that long, and then till today I still have 4 brain tumors, and it's pretty interesting to think about. It's funny too, because even my girlfriend, she deals with anxiety a lot, and we've been working through that and stuff. And then one of her anxieties is like, if her heartbeat is different, she starts thinking, like, what could be wrong? And I'm like, you know, what's interesting? You're perfectly healthy, yet I have 4 brain tumors, and I know we're different. It doesn't work that way, but it's like, think about that. It's like, I could be freaking out all the time because they could turn cancerous. Same with Sean Wells. You know, he's got a benign tumor as well. They could turn cancerous, but what if they don't? I'm not going to live my life in fear because of it.
Right. No, you should live your life in excitement and passion and going after it because of it.
Exactly.
Hey, I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, we'll talk about your go after, man. After the show or something, I can probably help there. But it's so just we're gonna go on to your purpose in a second. But before we do, I want to talk about the X Games, dude.
Yeah.
Because I know everyone's going down a different path, but I don't like to go down the same path as everyone. What I do is world-class performance for people. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I tune this in so they step in there in such a flow state that they're able to, just let themselves be free, whether that's professional fighters, it could be people doing business mergers, it could be people doing trade. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing, right? So when you were competing, not just in the X Games, but in BMX, was there certain routines and things that you did for yourself to actually get you in that flow? Because obviously BMX it's like people go, it's BMX. Have you ever rode a BMX fast? That's insanely scary. You know? So I mean, what was it? Were you doing tricks? What was going on? What was your actual field?
Yeah, so I competed in what's called BMX freestyle. So it's not racing, but it's the the jumps and the backflips, the spins, the tail whips, and all that stuff. And it's interesting because I come from a traditional sports background. You know, I played Little League baseball and basketball up until like my freshman or sophomore year of high school, and then that's when I made the transition to like fully pursue BMX. It like just consumed my life and took over. And I think having the training regimens and the routines of, drills and then adding that to BMX, that's just my mindset. And so when I learned a new trick, I would just do it and do it and do it and then do it on a different ramp and on a different ramp. And I would just, that every time I learn a new trick, it just become a part of my new routine. And then moving into professional and then riding like the foam pits and the resi ramps with Dave Mirra and all the other pros out in North Carolina, I was like, man, I have access to do like my hardest tricks over and over again and be safe doing it. And so I developed my own routine and my own warm-ups and things like that. And then at a contest, if you just apply that same, obviously the ramp setup's different than at home, so you got to make some adjustments, but being able to adapt is another aspect of BMX because the courses are always different. And so I just took all these different mindsets and perspectives and then put it into my own way. And I had a lot of influence from favorite riders. I just developed my own style over time. And
cool.
it definitely helped.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. I love it. I love it. And we can talk about more of that up there. So let's jump into your purpose, mate. What's your mission now, man?
So my mission is really clear to me, and it took 3 brain tumor diagnoses to help that. But
whatever works.
I do everything I do because I don't want people to learn the hard way like I did. I want people to become as healthy, happy, and successful as possible, and I want them to be proactive rather than reactive. So I'm very fortunate to be alive, and I've talked to a lot of families that have the opposite outcome from their family member or friend, the same diagnosis. So I just really want people to learn, how to take care of themselves in all aspects of life and not have to wait till they get a death sentence or maybe something less severe, but really be proactive and make the choice now to manifest the result that they want and not be fine, but feel great.
I love that. It's powerful, man. So how'd you do that?
I just been sharing my story over the last couple of years and just being as transparent and authentic as I can. And then people reach out and I do my best to respond to every single person. But over the years, I started becoming more interested in nutrition and holistic health. And I read a book called Grain Brain in 2013 by Dr. David Perlmutter, and everything was about brain health. And he talked about the ketogenic diet in there. And at the time it didn't click for me, but I did adopt a high fat, low carb, paleo-ish diet and just kept learning along the way. And then I went through a health coaching certification program in New York called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and became a certified health coach and didn't do anything with it for 3 years because I was still competing and traveling. But I was just like, man, like this is so amazing. And maybe I could have prevented this from happening. I'm feeling better now. I'm looking better. Sleep's improved. Like, let me share it with people. And I just continue doing that. And then it was the winner of my last season competing where I got a phone call from a friend who does choreography type, like action sports and dance show, like performances for amusement parks and corporate events. Oh, he's like, hey, I got a corporate gig, Josh. Would you be interested? They're looking for someone that can fit their no limits theme this year. And I thought of you right away. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. The
That's
EVP
cool.
of the company was like, hey, Josh, like, let's talk on the phone, and basically interviewed me for a half hour, mind and fitness and nutrition, all this stuff. He's like, do you coach? And in my mind, I was like, I haven't done that yet, but I was like, yeah, of course. And I took him and four of his go-to people at the company on, and for 3 months we worked together before the event, got them all great results. And that's what started it, because it was that and the third brain tumor diagnosis. I was like, man, like, let's do something with this. And now I've just been helping people and coaching them and getting them good results and working on a book and having conversations with people like yourself and just trying to let people know I'm no one special. And I'm just, a broke kid from Cape Cod with a dream and made it happen. And, people can do it too.
That's it, right? The best people are made just from nothing, and that's how you get good. That's crazy, man. So if you could fast forward the movie 5 years, let's go forwards. What do you want, man?
I just want to be happy with whatever I'm doing. I want to feel fulfilled and have, I want my purpose. I want my actions to be aligned with my purpose. And that's what I can control every day. I can't control the outcome, but I can control, what I do every single moment of my life. And sometimes it's easier than others. Sometimes it's harder than others. But yeah, I just would love for the things I'm working on to manifest and to help people. Most importantly, like, everything I do is to help people become well. And if I can help just one person, then that's me doing my job. And so, like I said, I'm working on 2 different books and just more conversations like this. I'm about to hire on my buddy full time for video work, so we can just pump out videos and just whatever people want to know and just document my life, and just anything I can do to give people an insight into how it's not about, people having an upper hand or being successful overnight. There's a journey and a process to it, and it's all about your mindset. And so in 5 years, I just hope to be manifesting all the things I'm working on now and helping change lives.
Awesome. So let's talk about that mindset.
Of course.
What you did, seen as Mindset by Design. We can talk about that. Yep. So what you do on a daily, man?
So every day I developed this routine over the last year or so, just like this morning routine. And I wake up, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, all that good stuff. And then I come down and have you read the book Think and Grow Rich?
Of course. Classic. Okay. I got given it when I was 24. Yeah, that was my first personal development book.
Awesome. So, chapters 1 through 4, it's like basically forming your own manifesto for life. And it's about finances, but you can just change the word money for anything that you want in your life. And it's like a blueprint to manifesting something. So I developed my own 2-pager of some things and some life vision stuff, some mantras, and like just what works well for me over the last couple of years. I've developed this. And so the first thing I do after I come downstairs and I go to my office and I go through that and I just try to feel everything and do some gratitude journaling, and then just kind of organize my to-dos for the day, my big 3, if all else fails, if I get these 3 things done, it's a win. And then just whatever else I'm trying to accomplish, and then go make coffee after, have some water. My girlfriend and I go to the gym, and that's like our morning routine together. She's an athletic trainer at a private high school, so she doesn't have to be to work till noon. And so we have this nice morning routine. I wake her up a half hour after I get up, and it's just a good way to start. And what's interesting is, have you heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Of course.
Okay, yeah. So him and Tony Robbins are kind of similar in where they talk about like priming your brain, like auto suggestions, and I guess Think and Grow Rich, they talk about that. So I found anytime I get overwhelmed and anxiety or stress, it's like, of course, it's your thoughts. So what better way to prime yourself for the day than starting out in the morning, all the self-talk that you want to hear and that makes you feel good, and like your vision and what you're trying to manifest. And just that's the best way, is just start there, and then just throughout the day, you if you get that done on top of priming your mind, you've already won and you're indestructible, basically. So just
beautiful. And that's the point in the priming. And I love, because you're building the correct neurological networks. You're building the correct chemical response. You're building the correct nervous system straight away in the morning, which again, the mind's a muscle, right? So as we start to keep building that, pumping the right connections, that just starts to automate into our nervous system. Yep. So the best time to do that is, guess what? When we start, our minds are going in the morning, it's about 1 billion things going on. Then it's about setting that structure up in the morning. And I love that what you just said, because that was going to be my next question. What do you do when you get stressed and overwhelmed?
Yep.
But you basically go back to basics, right?
Well, another thing that helps that is, I find for me and for a lot of people, whenever we get stressed, overwhelmed, it's because we're becoming impatient about our goal, and we're focusing only on the goal. And so what I do with my clients is, because I also do the health coaching, is like day one, it's like, what is your goal? Let's get clarity around that. And like, why is that your goal, more importantly? But then let's reverse engineer a path from there to day one where we are now. And so anytime I feel impatient or stressed or whatever, it's like I'm not focusing on the journey and the action items and the tactical action items of what I could be accomplishing, because that's what you can control. You can't control the goal. You can control you in the now. So, and that's why I love sharing. It's just, it's about, if any of that happens, it's like, well, what are you focusing on? And have you heard of the TEAR method?
No.
TEAR, thoughts, emotions, actions, and results, or I like to cross it out and put reality. So anytime we have an emotion like stress, anxiety, we don't talk about the good ones because no one wants to change how we feel good. But when we're in that negative state, it's like, all right, trace it back to your thoughts. What are you thinking about? I'm stressed because I'm not going to be able to pay the bills. Okay, well, what can you control? If you're worrying about that, how much time are you wasting? So if you can change your thoughts, to a good time, a grateful time, an experience, you get a new emotional state of being, you take new action because of it, and then you're going to manifest a new result and you're going to get a new reality of it. And that little thing, it's so simple, it's harder than it sounds, but if you put that into practice, it's helped me phenomenally. And it's just it's an amazing thing.
Awesome. Again, just tracing the thoughts back. What's that initial thing that's causing you pain? I love it. Where's your focus going?
Yeah.
Again, that's the reason, right? And it's the biggest thing with life. Would you find it the same way? It's obviously about getting clarity around where you're going, but then it's just about allowing it as you're kicking ass and you're going, got to kick ass. People just think they sit there. No, you got to go and kick ass.
Yeah.
But then it's just about allowing, right?
Yeah. And that was a big thing for me, is like believing that I deserve the things that I'm going after. So it's like, it's not about just meditating and then just sit on the couch and wait. Like, no, you got to work. You got to put the action in there. You got to have the both aspects of it. But I think the belief is one of the most important items after taking action. It doesn't matter where you're starting, just start. But then you got to believe in it. Like, you can't just meditate and just be like, this isn't working, but do it all the time, because it's a conflict with the mind and body. So I think it's like a belief that you have to build in yourself, more importantly, that you can accomplish the things you're working on. And that becomes easy when you're focused on the purpose and the mission and the action items rather than the result and the end result. Because I believe that always changes. I don't think there's any destination, because every time you get to level 1, you're going to want to get to level 2 and then keep going like a video. You don't always play level 1 in a video game and turn it off. Right. Well, I guess that's more common, to read chapters of a book and then give up, but
But a lot of people, but that's the point. People do, man. They get to level chapter 3 and then they think that's it. They don't realize there's a whole Harry Potter series going on, right? They think it's like, this thing is the first 3 chapters. And that's what people get stuck in, like the 9-to-5 world. And I'm not saying that's not a good, not valid, but the truth is, I don't know many people who are doing the 9-to-5 world that are actually want to be doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a good point. Yeah, I've been there. we've all been there, but it's just, I think it's a belief.
I've worked in car factories. I've worked on the line. I've worked everywhere you can imagine. But it's, oh man. So it's like, I interrupted you then. There was a little delay in the internet. So it's like, we've all been there, right? So what advice would you give to people, because all that you've been through, man, it's insane, and everything that you're living with every day, and you seem so aligned right now. And I'm not saying, again, we all go through the roller coaster of emotions every day. That's just called being an entrepreneur in life. Man, it's chaos, but that's what we do. What else are you doing, right? What else are you doing? So what would you say to someone right now who's really struggling with taking that leap, whether it's a career, whether it's launching a business, whether it's even getting out of depression? What's that next? What would you say to someone for the next big step for them?
Oh, honestly, it's just like what I say right now. It's just like, audit your thoughts. What are you thinking about? If you're in a position to take a risk, but you're denying yourself that opportunity, why? Usually it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of judgment from family is huge, especially their parents. And part of the story that I didn't share is, I come from, my family is, a normal working family, 9 to 5, and taught me hard work. And, my grandparents were in a different time. So like they've been able to, buy their own land and home, build it and all that stuff. But it's like, it was always work hard for the things you want. And so I got into landscaping at a young age, and a friend of the family had his own company. So he hired me on. And I went to high school, a technical high school, to be trained in landscaping so I could run my own business one day. And the boss, our mom's friend, was also setting me up to that's what he would do with his guys, work for him some time and then give them their own truck and trailer and mower and they go do their own thing. And so I got an ultimatum one day from him when I was 17, because at that time I just started competing professionally, was taking Mondays and Fridays off to travel, using all the money to go everywhere. And he's like, man, like, you're one of my main guys. You got to pick, man. Is it going to be me or is it going to be Max? And luckily my parents supported me, but it was just a no-brainer, because I was like, my mentality was, I can always go back to school or work later on, but I can only do this for so long with my body. And so for people that are, thinking about that risk, like I moved 13 hours away from my family, dropped out of high school, left my family, live on my own and pursue BMX. I rented a big walk-in closet for my friend in his apartment at the campus in the town I moved to train with Mira and all those guys. For like, I had a blow up mattress in there, my clothes right by my side, and like my bike downstairs. Like that was my living experience on my own at first. But when it comes to taking a risk, it's honestly, like, what do you want? And usually people don't take what they want because they're afraid or they don't believe that they can have it. And I didn't have any of those, thankfully, because I was so young and naive. I just was focused on what I wanted. And that's why I feel comfortable sharing that. And I know it's harder as we get older because of life experience and all the conditioning and this and that and responsibilities. But it's like, would you rather live in regret, always thinking like, what if? Because I have none of that. I've always, I might have woken up in an ambulance from taking a risk, but I knew like, oh, I took it and it didn't work out, or it worked out great, So it's just anyone that's struggling with that choice. It's like, think about why you have that choice and why you're having resistance towards it. Do you really feel that it's something you want? Or do you really feel that it's a fear of judgment or failure? Because a lot of people are caught up, especially with social media now. Oh, well, what am I going to look like to Sally or to Joe if this doesn't work out? And it's like, why do you care?
Yeah, why do you really care? It's so dumb, man. It's so dumb. But
someone said this to me. Sorry.
Oh, cool, dude. I want to know.
It was a quote from a friend. I don't know where it came from. They're like, yeah, other people's opinions don't pay my bills. And I was like, that's amazing. Yes, they don't. So
they don't, man. And the only people earning big money on Instagram is chicks with the butts, right? Yeah. Hey, they're earning good money. Keep doing what you're doing. But it's like, it's you're right. And it's like, it's so bad these days that the algorithms have got us so chemically addicted to the likes, man. And they know what they're doing. And we're getting constant dopamine hits by more likes, less likes. And then they've created such a chemical addiction inside of us that, and it's, I watch my niece who's like turned 17 this year, and it's like, that's the world. I'm old, man. So I grew up in a time before the internet, dude. Yeah. So it's such a different world. So when you talk about belief and getting over fears and really understanding that this life is finite, it's not going on forever. And for you to hold yourself back or get stuck in the social media thing, thinking that it means something, then it breaks my heart, because because life is, like you say, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. Life is just about living. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I've traveled quite a bit. I lived in lots of countries, and it's like the happiest people I've ever met, man, are like the Fijians and the Balinese. They got nothing. They've got nothing except for their family, what they're doing that day. Yep. And but they're happy. Yeah. And they're doing life. And there's something about that, right? We're caught up in such a different world these days.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like it's because everyone's comparing themselves to others, and I've done that before as well. I didn't start doing well in contests until I stopped comparing my riding to other people's riding and did exactly what I wanted, not what I thought they wanted to see, and not what I thought I needed to do to compare to the other rider. And I started doing really well, and I was like, oh. So I think like that's a huge thing with social media too. It's like a lot of people don't understand. It's just a facade. Like you're following someone and you're only able to see what they allow you to see. Totally. And like, that's why I try to share every aspect of my life, good or bad, whatever you want to call it, because it's like, I'm not trying to put on this show, and anyone that meets me, they're like, oh, you're like the same. And it's like, yeah, like I have no reason. I'm not like trying to act, like I'm just being me, Right. So I think it's like we stop comparing ourselves to others. And I go through this with my clients all the time. Like, it's been like a month now and I didn't lose as much weight as that person. I'm like, do you know their real story? Like, do you know what they really did? And if that's true, Are they just sucking their stomach in? Like they just type something. Like it doesn't matter. Like focus on where you started and where you are now. It's the only comparison you should have.
I love it, mate. And you know, the sad thing is too, I saw this advert on Instagram the other day and it was like, you could take a photo and you could literally give yourself abs. You could give yourself a chest. You could darken it. It's like, what the hell, man? And like, you could just click this and suddenly, like within a minute, you've changed the whole contour of this picture.
Yeah, that's terrible.
People's brains, man. People think like they're looking at that and it's real. It's not real, man.
And that's the thing, like people are like, oh, social media is so terrible. Social media is so great. And it's like, it can be whatever you choose it to be. But that's the thing. Like, and I've done that before. It's like, I get to the point now where I don't even, like, I feel bad when my friends are like, yeah, did you see this? I went on this trip. I'm like, sorry, I didn't. Like, I post my stuff. I respond to my audience and I try to give as much value as I can. But I find even like myself and what I'm doing, I'm completely content and happy. And I know where I'm going. And I see like X, Y, and Z doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh man, like I find myself getting down because I'm like, but it's like, I'm seeing that and I'm comparing it to where I am now. But I forget about what I just did yesterday, what I'm doing tomorrow. And so I try not to even scroll either. Like, it's just like getting in the habit of just going through. And it's just like this, like you said, this addiction. And then it's like instant dissatisfaction with your life because you're seeing all these awesome things that people are only allowing you to see. No one's out there like, yeah, look at my crappy photo. Like I spilled coffee on me. Like, I mean, it's like, that's not the norm. It's like Photoshop, check out, like you said, that app, like check out my abs. And it's like, those aren't even real. Like,
it's not even your abs, mate. And by the way, that's called lighting in a mirror. Like, and who cares anyway? The abs. It's like, who cares, man? Interesting. Josh, we'll wrap it up in a second, buddy. We'll wrap it up in a second. It's been awesome, mate. It's been awesome to connect. Not with everyone, mate, but I play a little game at the end, right? And it's basically, I want to find out what's automatically playing in your head, right? Because obviously we've got conscious, unconscious mind, and we've got the software. So I want to ask you like just 4 words. And I want to know what instant thought or feeling pops up into your head. No right or wrong answers. I just want to know, man. So, you know, when I say the word business, what pops into your head?
Hard work.
Hard work. What's the emotion?
Roller coaster.
That's
I don't even know where to put it. Just up and down.
Right. It was funny. I interviewed someone who's like one of the top like internet marketers in the world ever, right? And I won't say his name, but I asked him these questions. This was years ago, and he went, "What do you think about business?" He went, "Anxiety." What do you think about the future? Anxiety. Everything is anxiety.
Oh, no.
I was like, what's the lesson here? And he was like, probably if you want to be an entrepreneur, you probably got to handle anxiety.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. That's a constant battle. It's all those thoughts, those suggestions.
It is, man. So what happens? What comes into your head when I say the word money?
Oh, that was a past fear.
Oh.
Money was interesting because it was a struggle in my family. So my mindset around money was I'm never going to make enough money or I'm never going to make a lot of money unless I do something illegal. I become a celebrity or a famous person. That's my belief. Like, because my family, you know, we just worked hard, barely got by. Now that's it's a relationship. Have you heard of Kerwin Rae?
No.
Oh, so you should check out some of his work. Kerwin Rae, he's in Australia. Some people refer to him as the Australian Gary Vee. But he's a great person. But he put out a piece of content about your relationship with money. And if you're always thinking negatively about it, think of it as like if that was your spouse. If you're treating them the same way, would you expect them to stay around? It's the same thing with money. It's just a tool, but it's a relationship you have with money. And like as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, okay. Like, yeah, let's think about this differently. Kerwin Rae, R-A-E.
Kerwin Rae.
Yeah, he's real big on Facebook and does a lot on YouTube and Instagram, but
Aussies, man. Aussies are powerful. I'm telling you, I've lived there, so it's as well. But it's like Aussies are kicking ass, man.
Yeah,
they're powerful.
I got a bunch of good friends that are from Australia as well.
Yeah, man, and they're crazy in a good way. I love it. You know? I lived in New Zealand as well, and that's where I was training a lot in MMA and stuff. And it's like, it's interesting. We could talk for a long time, mate. So, give me another one. Let's say, what about yourself? When you think about yourself.
Improvement. Always trying to grow. Always trying to been more loving of myself lately than I was before. Less hard on myself. So improvement comes to mind.
Be kind, right?
Yep.
Be kind. I love that. I love what you've just said, because it's imagine if yourself was your spouse.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was one of the biggest things around business that helped me was like that money relationship. And it's like, it doesn't need to be a struggle unless you make it one. Same with yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, no matter how much you want to take care of other people, you're not going to be successful at it, because you're not going to be in good shape. And I tell my mom that all the time. She's got a huge heart. I'm like, Mom, you got to, my brother and I are adults now. You got to take care of yourself.
I know, but she's your mom.
Yeah.
She doesn't want him. She wants to look after you. So, Josh, we'll wrap it up, but I appreciate so much of your time, mate, and it's been awesome to hang out and get to know you.
Yeah, likewise.
And, where can people find you, mate?
So it's pretty easy. Website's just joshperrybmx.com, and then all the social media handles are all just Josh Perry BMX. Try to keep it super simple, and maybe in a few years we'll buy the Josh Perry name, because that's taken. But
it's a football player, right? American football player.
Well, there's a bunch of guys named Josh Perry. It's a very common name. I actually went to high school with another Josh Perry a grade above me, so it's super interesting. But
hey, I'm Andy Murphy, mate. It's like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. I get it, mate. I'm going to put links everywhere, all over social media and everything that we go, and I'll blast it out on my email list. And Josh, been a pleasure, brother. Been a pleasure.
Awesome. I appreciate your time, Andy, and thanks for the opportunity to share. And it's been great connecting, and absolutely. I appreciate the relationship going forward.
So, crew, there we go. The end of episode 229. Love Josh? Gotta love Josh, right? What a story. Besides just what a story, what a guy, man. I love that dude. He's just a good guy doing his best to share and help with the world, man. And that's what I love. Make sure you're going over to his show notes, and make sure you click on one of his links and connect with Josh in whatever capacity. I know he's writing a cool book right now, and just hang out with Josh. He's a good guy, and he's all over the place. So I'm sure now you see his name pop up, you'll see him on all the top podcasts. And speaking of show notes, make sure you're heading over there and discovering which link is right for you. I mean, guess what? We've got the 3 Master Key videos are all top performers that I've worked with over the past 17 years. Well, there's 3 keys that I know if you apply those in your business, they're going to help you out massively. So it's a free video, 12 minutes long. Go and check it out. The other one is the number one tool that I've found that is really going to put your brain in a special place each and every single day. And guess what? Yeah, it's how to become a world-class performer. So go and check that out. I think you'll really, really like it. And I know it will create massive, massive change in your business and your life every single day. We're going to reprogram that unconscious mind. And for everybody else, if you really want to step up, then guess what? We've got the exclusive Unlock Your Performance session. This is where either me or one of my coaches is going to sit down with you, and we're just going to find out where you're at, what you want, and we're going to see what package, program, system, or advice you need to be able to help you take the next step. So hit those show notes up, and it's time to make this year your best year ever. If not, then hey, what you going to do? Be here this time next year? No, just be listening to the podcast this time next year. You have an amazing day, and until the next episode. And oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.